How we doing? Andrew, tell us all this good news you've been getting.
The past couple days, I saw two for sale by owners, so I decided to take a picture of them and call them. The one in Roswell, I feel like I almost kind of talked her into it, but I know she had sold some house.
Oh wait, sorry, Andrew. Sorry,
Oh, sorry, the mute.
I did that. My bad. I was
Oh,
trying to mute somebody else.
well, anyways, the other one I called, which is actually in my ex-girlfriend's neighborhood.
Yeah.
So she's gonna have to see my sign. But
Hey, maybe she wants to sell her house.
maybe that'd be awesome. But I called and talked to her on the phone and just told her all the points because, well, her home was listed a little bit too high, but I didn't tell her that. But I just told her, I said, look, I mean, I saw your sign and I tried to look it up. It's not on Zillow, it's not on the FMLS, and most people use real estate agents to find their house because it's free for the buyers. And so when we're looking and we don't see it, no one's going to hear about it. It's as if it doesn't even exist.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
I told her, I could sell your house for you and most likely get more money and sell it faster than you could do it on your own. And my fees would practically cover themselves at that point.
Okay, cool. Very good. Andrew, I want you to back up for just a second. So you're courting two FISBOs in particular right now, right?
Yeah. Two,
And one of
two
them
ones
is about to crack.
Yeah, one of them, hopefully, as long as her husband's cool with it, then we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna call them around 9 o'clock and see if
So
they're
you may have to don't just jump into the idea of um, like paperwork when her husband shows up, because
yeah,
you may have to use the same techniques that you used with her on him,
yeah,
meaning asking him
okay,
what the motivation is, asking him what his concerns are, right? Asking him what he expects from a realtor, why they chose not to invite a realtor in the beginning, right? So
yeah,
don't just run into it with him. You got to figure out who's in charge of making that decision, right?
yep, very
Okay,
true.
awesome. So let's back up even further. Where did you get the information for these FISBOs? Did you go to Vulcan 7?
No, what's Vulcan? Oh, the Vulcan 7? No, no, I didn't. I was just driving around on my scooter, like all around, just looking for them. So
Okay.
I drove down to stock and I just found a couple.
Okay, cool. So that is like the 1984 version of searching for FISBOs. I'm proud
Oh,
of you,
really?
and I'm really glad you did it.
Yeah.
And you can see
Rock
the results
1984.
are about to happen. But there's this thing. It's called Vulcan 7, and there's this computer system that takes all of these FISBOs and all of these expireds, and then puts them in a neat little sheet for you every day with all the pertinent
I like it.
information that you need to call them, and then you just say the same thing. And then when you want to ride around on your scooter, you can do so with music blaring, and you don't have to think about work. Right?
Okay.
But
My
not,
yeah, my thing with Vulcan 7 is by the time we get to them, a lot of people have already called them. So you doing the drive-by has actually been more successful for me than calling the Vulcan, but everyone's different.
Right. It's just kind of it's like how many at bats you get, right?
Exactly.
So, if you've got a system that gives you, 3 or 4 at bats and you're doing well at converting them, great. Let's not mess with the program. But if, I personally, I would prefer to strike out more and win less, or win the same and strike out more if I could do more faster. So that's kind of where Vulcan 7 comes in. And yeah, you're right. There's only like 5 or 6 scripts for expireds and for sale by owners. And if they're getting 50 calls, if they're getting 50 calls with a bunch of realtors saying the same thing, how are they going to know you're any different, right? So you might need to use a slightly different approach. Andrew, I kind of like how it almost sounds like you took a more casual approach to speaking with this woman, and it seems to have worked. So good job. Hang on, let me check these chats real fast. I know of a lot of people at business that think their road sign coverage is enough and don't put it on any platform. So why would they be on Vulcan 7? That's actually a really good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that, to be perfectly honest. If they're not on any platform whatsoever, they probably will not be on Vulcan 7. But that would be I would say that's an incredibly small percentage of the public. Most of the public, I'd say, knows that they've got to be on the internet somewhere. And if they're on the internet somewhere, then Vulcan 7 is going to find it.
I have a question about the Vulcan 7. Actually, I kind of talked to Kathy about this a little bit last night. Do we have a software or a program where as you're making the calls, you can put that number in there and then record that you made the call, show what happened, and then it would let everybody else know that that number's already been called, or is that not a thing?
No, that doesn't happen on Vulcan.
You can do that on Vulcan. That is one of the limitations with having one account for all of you guys, though, because there's like the main account, if you will, and correct me if I'm wrong because I've not played around with it, but you go in there and you can make the edits and make notes on each of the people and that kind of stuff. But that's not really the way that we had intended on using Vulcan. The way that we had intended on using it was just simply for the data. And then you grab the data, you extract it off the system, and then you make the calls because we're sharing the platform. You could do something like Mojo. Mojo is a dialer system. That's mojosells.com. MOJO sells, SELLS.com. That's an automated dialer system where you can input CSV files, which is what you would pull off of Vulcan. And then it would put it right into the dialing system, and you can either dial with one line, I think that's around $110 a month, or 3 lines simultaneously. I think that's about $140 or $150 a month. So they do have some dialing systems available where you can start to, categorize, oh, this person's, bad number, or this person's ready to buy in 6 months or something like that. But our intention is for you to do that on your own. And plus, just because I call somebody and I fumble over my script or I caught the guy at a bad moment, doesn't necessarily mean it's off limits for anyone else. Like, anyone should have the ability and the freedom to call that person, I think.
Okay, so I don't have to input every single call I make into Command, that I can just have my own spreadsheet where I log the calls that I make and what was said.
That's also a really good question. Thank you for asking that. So the only thing that I would log into Command is your interactions with people that you're actually in the process of courting.
Okay.
Right. So if you call some random seller and they don't pick up, or they say, hey, I'm not interested, then there's no reason to make any note of that beyond saying one contact.
Okay.
Right.
And Mojo's really good because it has its own built-in CRM. And so you can run the two simultaneously if you decide to do that. And if you have any questions, call me because I use Mojo.
Oh, perfect, Jan. Thank you. I've used Mojo in the past. I don't have an account right now, but I have used it in the past. I really liked it. Okay, let me restate Heather, what you just said to make sure everyone's clear on it. So we want to, if we're in the process of making phone calls, particularly with strangers, right? People that we don't have a relationship with, people that are not currently in our database. Okay, so that would be circle prospecting, for sale by owners, withdrawals, expired listings. Okay, if you have a two-way interaction with them, you should check that off as I made a contact, or a contact has now been completed. The only reason you should do anything beyond that is when you have a feeling that there is a possibility that you may have a future interaction. So if they say, I hate realtors, don't ever call me again, simply hang up the phone with them, cross them out of your life forever, and make a little check mark saying that you have had a contact. But if they say, yeah, go ahead and send me your app, or yeah, call me in 7 months when my lease is up, absolutely, they should go in your database, and you should have a tickling, a file or a reminder to tickle you, or you know what I'm talking about, to remind you that something needs to be done for them in the future. Does that make sense? But there's no reason to get caught up adding a bunch of strangers that don't like you anyway into your database. Does everyone follow that?
Yes.
Okay, so Andrew's about to secure a FSBO listing, dude. Good job.
Thank you.
That's freaking awesome.
Trying.
Hey,
Got my fingers crossed.
Yeah, good job. Okay, who else has some good news? Shona, you've been busy. Kathy's been busy. Tell me some other good news, y'all.
Well, I secured a new buyer last night,
Nice.
and as long as my clients move, and they're moving somewhere, then I have a repeat business, and I got that last night. So
Wait, so that's 2 pieces of business or 1?
two.
Man.
Oh, and a referral somewhere. I don't know where yet, but so I got a referral too.
Nice.
Okay, awesome. And did all that come from just a call checking in with somebody?
No, actually, this is the client's, the listing is from somebody that I sold a house 1.5 years ago. So, they contacted me as soon as they knew that he was going to be transferring. And then the piece of business, somebody called me on a listing. And guys, this has happened to me multiple times where I've gotten a buyer because somebody just randomly called on my listing, and I ask, who are you working with? Do you have a realtor? If not, can I help you? And that's how I got the buyer.
That's awesome. Okay, so you would say something, that's actually, I'm not completely prepared for this morning, but I would like to talk about going through some scripts for how to handle phone calls as they come in, right? Because we want to make sure, I'll just give you a really quick glimpse into it, is let's say I have a listing and it's a 3-bedroom home and it's listed for $275, okay? And I get a call in and the person wants to ask me some questions about the property, okay? And they say, well, what's the price, right? If you say 275 and their budget is up to 250, your conversation's almost certainly over, right? And then it's hard to go back and try to be like, oh, well, I have buyer's agents are free and I'd love to help you, blah, 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 right? You want to ask open-ended questions and you take control of that conversation. So hang on 1 second while I look that up. By the way, what's the price range that you're most comfortable with, right? And then they might say up to 250 or I don't know or something, to which you say, well, this one is listed for 275, but I do have a list of some properties nearby that are closer to 250. Would you like me to share those with you, right? So you want to keep that conversation going as long as you can, because or if they say, well, I need is it a 4-bedroom home? Because I need a 4-bedroom home. And you're like, no, it's a 3-bedroom. And they're like, click. And you're like, whoa, I want a chance at that, right? So, say, are you looking for, tell me a little bit about the most important things you're looking for in a home. And they might say, well, I need a 4-bedroom. That's the most important thing. So, well, this one's a 3-bedroom. However, I have another 4-bedroom right around the corner. Or I have a colleague who has a 4-bedroom right around the corner. Would you like me to send that one to you? Right. So you always want to be prepared with like, this may not be the perfect fit, but here's another solution for you. Does that make sense? That's why it's so critical to be familiar with your market when you're putting properties on the, making sure they're, I'm sorry. That's why it's so important to be familiar with the market and what your competition is constantly, because when a new seller lists their home, you now have to determine, do I have an appropriate price, right? Are we running an appropriate strategy here? Because if you go in thinking you can get 300 for a home and then a home gets listed next week for 290, that's more impressive, you're not going to sell before that one. And if you intend to sell before that one, you need to be more aggressive on the price. Does that make sense? I know I muted most everyone, but does that make sense, everyone?
Yes.
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 Perfect. Okay. Who else? Who wants to share some good news? I do want to spend a minute or two talking about rentals. I know that was a request from the other day. I'll give you a really quick overview of what that's all about. But who else wants to share some positive news?
My mom's neighbor is officially having to move, so I've got that listing appointment Wednesday.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Boy, you are rocking it.
Yeah, I'm tired. I got home at 12 last night and still works the contract.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. So as you're growing, remember you can start to make this little list on the side of things you don't like doing anymore.
Oh yeah, we've got a contract to close.
And then slowly but surely you let other people take care of that stuff for you.
Exactly.
I don't like negotiating amendments to address concerns.
Okay.
What can I
Well,
do?
maybe somebody else does. I think
That's-
part of that, by the way, part of that is, and look, you've got plenty of experience. I don't want to insinuate that you don't know how to do this, but it's so much of that comes from expectations,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It drives me crazy when people are like, let me, I want every little thing on the summary report of the inspection taken care of, right?
When I have a listing, I don't have a problem with it. When I have a buyer and I set the expectations for the buyer, they don't ask for everything, but then the sellers get their feelings hurt because they think they've got a perfect house and they've got a foundation or water intrusion issue. And then, the offer is exciting. The buyers are buying, the sellers are getting an offer. That's exciting. The amendment to address concerns, I hate it.
Yeah,
Especially
it is kind of one of the, lower points in the contract process.
Yeah.
However, it's, I'm sure you do this, but a good strategy is share the inspection report with them. Say, look, you got a water problem, man.
Yeah.
There's 75 things on this inspection report. You're lucky we only asked for 20 of them. Plus you got a water problem. Now we're 2 weeks away from closing. Let's get this thing done.
Yeah.
Right. And so much of it is also how much what kind of relationship you have with the other agent.
Who I've never worked. I was doing this till 10 after 11 last night. And I've never worked with this agent, but I've had 2 other people tell me she's mean, she's a bully. And she is. So I'm trying to keep that part of her contained, but she is mean and she is a bully. And I'll think twice before I get involved with a transaction with her again because of her attitude.
It's you gotta make sure that you're doing the right thing by your client, right? You may have to enter into a contract with this person in the future, but I've had to be pretty confrontational before with other agents. It's like, listen, man, this is not my first contract. You don't have to speak to me like it is. I'm working for my client. We can go buy something different. This is what we're asking for. Either yes or no, right? And sometimes it works and sometimes it makes it even worse, but I'm not going to be talked down to, right? I'm not looking for a fight, but I'm not going to be beat up. Does that make sense? It's all in sharing, hey, we're trying to get this done here. And for your buyer, it's like, look, if this is the house you want, these are the hoops you got to jump through to get it. This is the way it is. There's no other way to do it. Right?
Right. There were 89 issues.
Maybe you can start a company for people to navigate the amendment to address concerns.
Maybe I'll just pay somebody a small referral fee to handle that.
Yeah, say, okay, Joe Schmo, I'll give you 5% of the deal. You take care of that phase.
Yeah.
I bet you could find somebody pretty quick, actually.
Yeah. I probably could.
All right,
I'll
let me spend a minute.
Kathy. I'll do it.
You will? Okay.
Heck yeah. 5% of your deal? Your deals are way more expensive than mine.
Well, this
Oh
this
my
this
gosh.
one in particular is over 750,000, and there were 89 issues. They asked for 7 things.
I'll do that one. 5% done. I get back in the ring.
You're getting some.
Okay.
You're getting
All right,
50%
guys.
of it.
Let's talk about, I just want to give you a really quick overview of rentals, and then I need to make sure I hop off in time today. Okay, you can help. One last thing before we go there. Don't forget, please, that the Growth and Emerging Mastermind is today from 4 to 5 o'clock. 4 to 5 o'clock, okay? And okay, here's the deal with rentals. You can help landlords find tenants, and you can help tenants find landlords. So let's start with the landlords, okay? You can approach a homeowner who is looking to rent or lease out their property, and market that home for lease. There's separate GAR forms for leases. There's separate GAR forms for leasing listing agreements, okay? You do much the same thing. You take the photos, you prep the home for rent, you take the pictures, you do the research on the comparables and all that. You list the home in FMLS and Georgia MLS, the whole deal. They're just done under the rental section, okay? You put the sign in the yard, lockbox, everything kind of looks the same. There's kind of 2 main paths that you should be considering, or the owner should be considering. One is they're going to manage it themselves, and the other is they're going to hire a property management company. You should know that right off the bat. If they're going to hire a property management company, okay, you want to get in touch with the property management company right away, because you want to make sure that you're paid, and that's one of the jobs that they get paid to do, is procure the tenant. So I've worked with a few property management companies in the past where we basically worked together, and I was the one that did the marketing, and I received the phone calls, and I did most of the showings. And then as soon as the inquiry came in, or as soon as a tenant came in and said, yes, I'd like to rent this place, we put them through the protocols of the property management company. So then the property management company screened them and wrote the lease and did the move-in inspection, okay? I got paid the first month's rent. They got paid all the ongoing management fees. Management fees usually range from about 8% a month to 10% a month with a minimum. Minimums usually are around $100 a month, maybe a hair lower than that, okay? We don't do property management ourselves. If you are a broker and you have a separate LLC, there are certain circumstances where we'll allow that, but I don't believe any of us qualify for that on the call right now, okay? So let's say the person agrees to hire a management company, right? You go through the process that I just described. If they decide to rent it on, or to manage it on their own, then you're being hired simply to find the tenant, place them, write the lease, and facilitate the move-in. You have nothing to do with selecting or approving a tenant, and you have nothing to do with, guaranteeing or collecting rents or any of that kind of thing. You're simply being paid to find the tenant. Usually the fee for that, everything's negotiable, of course, as we know, but normally the fee is the first month's rent. So when they collect the first month's rent, which is typically at move-in, then that would be paid to Keller Williams Realty Consultants, and it would go through the office just like a normal commission check would, okay? If you put that home in FMLS, for example, you're gonna have to offer a co-op commission to a tenant's agent should they have one. Generally speaking, that commission is somewhere between 25% and 50% of the first month's rent. So this is not an incredibly lucrative gig, okay?
Yeah.
However,
Can I
what?
add that I don't know that I've ever seen 50%.
I have seen 50% one time out of hundreds. Most of the time it's 25% though. That's pretty much the standard. Okay.
I received 50% once, and I just, it makes me so mad if I have to help tenants and I get $200, and so I have offered 50% the 2 times I did a lease.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here was my philosophy, and a good bit of my business and my database came from the beginnings of a lot of those relationships were rentals. Okay. I just kind of chalked it up to the fact that I was building a relationship, and I was putting a young oftentimes a young couple into a, in a couple minutes, okay? In just a couple minutes. I was putting oftentimes a young couple into a property, and that was going to be their journey towards owning and selling real estate in the future. And that's kind of the way it's been working out. Okay. And oftentimes, I mean, when you help a buyer or seller, everyone knows how much you got paid, right? So I would mention how much I was getting paid, right? I'm getting a portion of the first month's rent. They're like, that's it? I'm like, yeah, but I'm here to help you, right? So it wasn't like, I want you to pay me more or anything like that. I just wanted them to be aware of how the money was working out, right? Okay, so yeah, generally speaking, 50% is on the super high end. It's normally around 25% that you would get for helping a tenant, okay? So once the tenant comes in, you say to the owner, hey, what kind of screening mechanism would you like to use to gather all the information you want to gather about this candidate? Okay, the system that I would generally recommend was a system called mysmartmove.com. Mysmartmove.com. Pam, if you could type that into the chat box, that'd be awesome. Please. That is a sex registry check, felony check, and credit check. Okay. What it doesn't check. Sorry.
It checks eviction history as well.
Yeah, eviction history. You're right. Thank you. What it does not check is income, and it also, of course, doesn't check references. So I would additionally ask the tenant that was applying to submit the GAR form rental application. So that has like places they lived in the past and landlord information, so I could check their references. And I'd also ask for a copy of their driver's license, and also ask for a copy of their 2 most recent pay stubs. If they don't get pay stubs, prove to me you make money. Show me some deposit slips, show me something, tax returns. I need to see you make money. Okay. Generally speaking, a good rule of thumb is around 3 times the rent and monthly income for the family. Okay. And anyone that's over the age of 18 should be screened. Okay. Well, my wife doesn't work. I don't care. She's getting screened. Okay. Husband doesn't work. I don't care. He's getting screened. Okay. I need to know. Okay, then you're in charge of kind of gathering all that information for the owner, and you put it on the owner's desk and say, what would you like me to tell these people, right? Are they approved or not approved, right? Then they're approved, you go ahead and write the lease. We'll get into all that a little later on how all that works, but you write the lease and you're there on the day of move-in and you're filling out the move-in inspection report with them. So move-in inspection report would be like, hey, there's a little red stain in the corner in the carpet in the 2nd bedroom or something like that. Or hey, there's one of these knobs doesn't work properly, something like that. Okay, now for a tenant, so that home is on the market for a rental, and you have a prospect that says, hey, can you help me find some renters? Or I'm sorry, like a condo or something, right? These are all privately owned places. So they're single family homes, condominiums, townhomes. Apartments, you're generally not gonna get paid to place somebody. Every once in a while they'll do it, but I wouldn't make a habit of like looking up random apartment complexes on the internet. You can help people place themselves into privately owned townhomes, condominiums, and single family homes, okay? And then you would show those properties just like you would a buyer. And then when they say, hey, I want that one, you say, great, you call up that agent, you say, what's your application process, right? What information would you like me to gather for you? And every owner is gonna have a slightly different system for gathering whatever information they want to gather around these prospective tenants. And typically you're going to charge an application fee. If you use the system that I just recommended, My Smart Move, I think it's $40 per applicant, and the applicant pays for that. You can do it however you want, but I always had the applicant pay for it. Okay. I didn't want the owner to pay for an application of somebody who was going to be a dud, right? Now, generally speaking, let's assume the credit check is perfect. What you find more often than not is first month's rent due at move-in and a security deposit equal to the first month's rent at move-in. If they want to say yes to pets, then there might be a pet fee. Sometimes it's negotiable, sometimes it's refundable, right? Sometimes they don't allow pets, or sometimes they don't allow certain breeds of pets, like they don't want a pit bull or something like that. These are all up to the owner to decide. Clearly, you need to be aware of, let me make sure it's clear. Please abide by the fair housing standards and the protected groups and these kind of things. Don't be an idiot. Okay.
Also, treat everyone exactly the same, every applicant. They all go through the same process. There's no shortcuts. That way, there can be no, you can always show that you've done the same process should anyone try to claim there was a discrimination or something.
Yeah, 100%. Good job. And then remember, hey, now I know that this person is got a 1-year lease and expires in September of 2021. And as that date approaches, I'm going to be in contact with them because they're in my database and I'm communicating with them, right? And I'm asking them how it's going. Hey, would you like some information about purchasing? Hey, do you like the area? Do you like the schools? Is everything going okay? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I mean, I could probably point to like definitely two. Let's just say two. I probably got 600-700 people in my database. Okay. I bet you that half of the people came from 2 properties. 2. One in Marietta, one in Alpharetta. Those properties and the owners of those properties at that time, I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity they gave me. Okay. So sometimes we just don't know when that last phone call is going to introduce us to just the biggest champion for our business ever. Okay. I've got a bunch of champions in my business, and almost all of them, I had a rental relationship with them first. Okay. So there's lots of opportunity out there. It's pretty grueling, but it is a pretty good way to learn the market and get some quick cash and build up your database. So the message here is not, let's stop talking to sellers and buyers and go after a bunch of rentals. The message is, we can also be paid for rentals. It is another form of lead generation, and it can create growth in your database very quickly. I kind of looked at it as like, they told me I should go be previewing properties, and it's hard for me to go do it on my own. So I really need company while I do it, and I might as well get paid a few $100 to do it. Somebody's going to pay for my gas money just to go see all these properties. Does that make sense?
You could also run a Facebook ad around rentals.
You could. Or just something to the effect of, like, hey, we don't only help buyers and sellers, our organization can help, tenants with questions as well, right? Or landlords, right? Just really quickly, I had, back when the market was terrible, back in like 08, 09, I would sit down with a bunch of sellers. I didn't have a problem getting the appointment. I just had a problem getting the contract because the price that I would suggest was, let's say, $225, and they're like, Bill, I need to sell for like 300. I'm like, well, you ain't selling for 300 right now. The evidence is clear on that. So how else can I help you, right? So we ended up renting their homes. So that's kind of how I got into it. At one point, I think I had 31 landlords that I was helping every year, every other year, find a tenant, right? That's how Pam and I got connected in the first place. I walked in, I said, I need help. My gosh, can you please help me? I can't handle all these calls anymore, right? And a lot of people in her database have had rental origins as well. So it's just another form of lead gen, guys. You can help every single person, regardless of whether they own a home or don't, whether they want to rent a home, whether they want to rent a condo. I mean, I've got a number of examples of when I helped I helped one woman rent a place, then rent another place, then buy a place, then buy a place, then sell it, then buy a place with her husband, then sell that, then buy another place with her husband. And then the husband ended up bringing it home into the relationship that Pam's got under contract right now, right? So you just never know where these pieces of business are going to come from. But it ain't going to happen if you don't keep up with it. So that's the importance of follow-up as well. Okay. You guys have a wonderful day. I appreciate you being on with me this morning. I will see those for the Growth and Emerging Mastermind at 4 p.m. today. I think the team meeting is going to be awesome today. I'm actually speaking to the Keller Williams office in Montgomery, Alabama this morning about profit share. So hopefully I'll get a copy of that and I'll share with you guys as well. Okay. Y'all go have an awesome day. Congratulations to those that have got some good action over the last couple of days. I'm very proud of you. And remember, today is the last day of the recording period. So if you could, prior to tomorrow morning, go ahead and update July 1st through 7th tracking page and put in your goals for the following week. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Have a good one, y'all.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.